So, you want to be a real estate investor, but where do you start? How do you know what information and sources to trust? That's where I come in. I'm Jonny Cattani, and this is the Investor Relations Real Estate Podcast. Hey guys, real quick, before we start, go to investwithcattani.com and download my free ebook, Is Commercial Real Estate Recession Proof? Now to today's show. What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Investor Relations Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Jonny Cattani, and I am joined today by Mike Morawski. Mike is a 30-plus year real estate investment veteran. He has controlled over $285 million in real estate transactions. Mike is an entrepreneur, author, real estate trainer, public speaker, and personal coach with a strong personal resilience and deep desire to help others live an extraordinary life. He has coached hundreds of real estate investors to fulfill their dreams. Mike, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Jonny. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Looking forward to today. I think we have a nice little plot twist for the readers. It was a nice little surprise for me too. So let's get into it. This works perfect because I like to start every episode with a kind of a backstory about my guests and how they got to where they're at. So without further ado, take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, and I just want to clarify for people. I know you said Mike Morawski. I just want to clarify my middle name is not Mike.
Yes. Okay. Sorry. We should clarify that. It's in quotations but I realize people can't get that when I just say it. So it's in quotations, it's a nickname. So yes, thank you.
So yeah, just like, hey, let's have fun, right? So yeah, I've been in real estate 30 years. I started out as a residential sales agent. And it's funny how I got in the business. I didn't come from a family that had entrepreneurial background or any real estate aspirations or anything like that. Don't know what really ever attracted me, but I had a general contracting business. I was, and like any entrepreneur, right? I was selling jobs. I was estimating jobs. I was ordering material. I was hiring guys. I was firing guys. I was doing the bookkeeping, staying up late at night, getting up early in the morning, and still pounding nails in the field. And one morning I woke up in bed and looked at my wife at the time and I went, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. Just burnt out, right? And so fortunately I had somebody knocking at my door that wanted to buy the company. And so I sold the company and took a year off. And if you're any entrepreneur knows you really don't take a year off. So, my wife and I, we house hacked a couple of houses, and this was long before it was sexy, right? Now everybody does it. And back then she was screaming at me because there were nails on the floor, right? So during that time though, I had heard Jim Rohn say years ago that success leaves clues. And if you follow successful people or, model successful people, you're going to cut your learning curve and be successful. So I met a real estate agent along the way and went to him and said, hey, I think I'd like to go into business. And he said, I think you'd be great at it. He made me a cassette tape that I listened to over and over and over again. And, the fundamentals he taught me on that tape were priceless. I went in the business, my first 9 months in the business, I sold 78 houses. I was RE/MAX Rookie of the Year. I went on to build a team selling 125 houses a year.
Wow.
Did that for about 12 years. And then in 2005, I saw the market starting to shift. And when the market shifted, I was like, man, I don't know what's going to happen, but I know I'm not going to keep this pace up. Let's go do something else. Well, I've always wanted to be in the apartment business. And back when I was, in the construction business, I did a lot of work for a couple of Chicago syndicators and did a bunch of apartment rehabs and took care of, some of their properties and knew the market. Understood the business. I understood you could raise private equity, marry it with a great real estate deal, stay in the middle. And as long as everything went well, people made money from it. So 2005, I said, well, let me syndicate a deal. Let's see what happens. So I syndicated a small 11-unit apartment building. And I said, man, this is going to be great. I raised, a couple $100,000 overnight and didn't know anybody again, just like when I started selling real estate. And over the next 30 months, I raised $18 million. I bought 4,000 apartments in 5 markets. It was like $60 million worth of real estate. I built a vertically integrated property management company managing 7,500 units and, did that in 30 months. So I built this $100 million company, right? And did it way too fast, very unstable as a company. Had some challenges along the way as a result of it. So.
Wow. Okay. So I love that, I think a lot of people can relate. I didn't have entrepreneurs in my family either. Just kind of always, it's crazy. And you may have felt the same, but every job I've had, I've just felt like this isn't it. This isn't my calling, but I could never quite figure out what it was, and eventually I got to the point where I knew I didn't want to work for someone, but I still wasn't sure. And then, now I finally figured it out, and it sounds like you kind of had the same thing, but it is strange and tough when you have a family. I'm not sure what yours was like, but my family still thinks I'm crazy. So, that's awesome that you still went out and did it and just kept going and going and going, and obviously created this company. And you always have a story about scaling too quickly. I think a lot of people can relate to that. What was in there though, like the growth was so fast. Why was it not sustained? What were some of the issues there?
So, I grew a company way too fast. So, I always tell people I made these mistakes. Grew too fast, very unstable. I thought I had a team behind me that was stabilizing properties, and they really weren't working the business plan like we had penciled it out. I was undercapitalized, didn't have enough capital for the growth. I had 100 people working for me in that short period of time. And I was over leveraged. I bought $60 million worth of real estate at 85% loan to value.
Jeez.
Johnny, I don't know who was worse, me for taking the money or the banks for giving it to me, But I tell everybody today, don't get in a space where you need to be 65 to 70% LTV. Otherwise, there's going to be challenges, right? Because you need that cushion. So here, so all those issues came up. I didn't pay attention to details or the red flags that came up along the way. And the fifth thing was that I didn't listen to people around me say, hey, I don't like what's going on. You need to look at this. You need to look at what this person's doing. And I didn't do any of that. So 2008 rolls around. We're pretty unstable, start to come off the rails. And here's the other thing too. When you look at deals today, you have to look at the employment diversification in a marketplace. And we were heavily vested in the Ohio Valley, where it was all car stuff, car and transportation. And there wasn't enough diversification to keep occupancies up. So occupancies dropped out, NOIs dropped out. As a result of that, I found myself with these assets that I couldn't pay the bills on. So I went to my accountant and my attorney. I said, hey, what do I do? And we came up with this plan, move money from profitable companies, put it in non-profitable companies. Just make sure you leave a paper trail. It's not illegal to do, but so I did that. And here's what I didn't do. I didn't disclose it to my investors. And, when we raise capital and we're in, when we have other people's interest at heart or in our hands, we need to disclose everything to them. We need to be very transparent. But I didn't tell my investors. And here was my thought around it. I said, oh, this is just a recession. It'll last 17 or 18 months. We were probably 2 or 3 months into it by then. It'll bounce back. There's going to be a small correction. I'll be able to catch up and I'll put all the money back when the market bounces back. Well, that never happened. 7 or 8 years, a 40% correction. It's a pretty hard storm to weather. So because I didn't disclose it to my investors, I got charged on wire fraud and mail fraud charges and sentenced to 10 years in federal prison for non-disclosure of information.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And so obviously you learned a lot. Of course. How long did you end up actually spending?
Yeah, I was in prison for 8 years. And
Oh,
here's what
wow.
here's what I always tell people. I say, look, I never flew private. I didn't have a big car. I didn't buy a boat. I didn't have a fancy house. I was a neighborhood baseball coach. I was home at night for dinner. And I went from that, got ripped from that to live in a 12 by 12 room with 3 men I didn't know, nor did I like, wondering what the hell happened in my life. And I literally walked around every day wondering how I was going to get through today, much less 10 years, right? But I served 8 years. I was probably in prison 3 years. And, like I said, I thought my life was over. But then my wife decided she was going to divorce me, and it wrecked me. And, I was like, man, now how am I going to get through? Um, so, I think we all have defining moments in our life. And if you pay attention through life, you probably have more than one. And this was one for me, but it was like somebody flipped the switch for me. I walk in the gym one day, and I had gone from running marathons to being 35 pounds overweight. I absolutely hated myself, didn't know what I was going to do. This guy walks up to me in the gym and he goes, "Hey, don't let these people beat you. All they want to do is take from you everything you've ever known or ever had. They can take your apartments, they can take your business, they can destroy your family, but what they can't take is who you are and what you're made of.
Mm.
You're resilient. You can bounce back." He goes, they didn't take from you what you had to build that $100 million company. And I don't know what it was, but man, I got it. And so he said, "Come to my class every day, start working out, you'll start to feel better." And I did. I took him up on it. I started going to the gym. I started working out. I started to feel better. And then started losing weight. I wound up going to college. I got a bachelor's degree in theology. I wrote 2 books while I was gone. One is Exit Plan. You can see it behind me. Your complete guide to multifamily investing and why you need an exit plan. I'd love to give your listeners a copy, at the end of the show. I wrote a book on property management. I wrote an ethics course. I taught real estate investing, property management, and ethics in prison for 6 years. I always say
That's awesome.
how
That's so
ironic,
awesome.
how ironic a federal inmate teaching ethics in prison, right? I was on an outreach program. I went into the community. I told my story to small business owners and local college students. And I met a professor from the University of Minnesota. He and I co-authored a paper together that we had published in the Business Journal of Ethics. It gets taught today at the collegiate level for forensic accounting and sales and marketing classes. And today I'm back home. I'm in the coaching and training business. I work with multifamily investors on how to scale their business, how to live a balanced lifestyle. And recently was approved by the SEC to go back and sponsor deals, be an issuer of securities. And we just bought our first deal. So just finishing the capital raise on that and underwriting and getting ready for the second one. So.
Wow. I was just going to ask what the kind of sanctions the SEC handed down, but sounds like you got those overturned. Obviously, you didn't let it stop you. And I really love what that person said to you was that they can't take away what led you to growing that $100 million business, right? Which is 100% true. And you obviously took that, have created wonderful things. What was it for you? What was that process like for your mindset, to overcome that? And, big thing you're about is resilience, of course. Don't let your past define you. But, I cannot relate to that. But one thing I struggle with is leaning into my full story. And I'm sure a lot of your coaching clients have the same, sort of imposter syndrome. Why do I deserve this kind of a thing, and not lean into their story and what they came from and what made them how they are. So, what are some keys for you and for, when you coach people on that?
So here's why I tell my story. First of all, I'm not the only guy in the real estate space that got thrown in jail for doing something illegal or not even illegal, right? I mean, 5 years before I got in trouble, the SEC would have slapped my hand, fined me $250,000, said, "Go back, straighten your business out." And today, the federal government dismantles you. And um, there's a lot to learn from it, right? So, the thing that I tell people is, look, I might have been in prison behind a wall, but there's so many people in the world that are in prison in their own mind from addictions, whether it's alcohol or drugs or past abuse, childhood trauma, things like that, where they don't move forward. And I tell my story because I want people to move beyond their crap, right? You don't have to let your past define you. I might be the only guy out there in the real estate space that's telling this story, and it's okay, right? Um, it's about helping somebody else today to move beyond their stuckness, because we can all be stuck somewhere, and you don't have to be. So
I love that so much. It's so true. And, it's a constant battle, right? Every day you've got to, kind of show up for yourself. And obviously, as you grow a business, for you probably have partners as well. So you got to show up for them too. And me personally, I do well when other people are relying on me more than myself. My self-discipline is getting better, but definitely needs work. So you're back in the game,
yeah.
love that. What, obviously a ton has changed. I'm sure you've obviously kept up with it, but what are your goals now? Like what's your strategy now and kind of moving forward?
Hey, let me just comment on this. So you said a ton has changed, and I'll just give you an example. I went to prison and we were on the iPhone 2. Came home, we were on 12.
Wow.
So let me tell you how much technology's changed. This guy came in to prison after me and left before me. And when he left, he handed me a piece of paper. He goes, "Connect with me when you get home." And he handed me this thing, and I said, "Where's your phone number?" He goes, "That's my IG address." I go, "What's IG?" He goes, "You'll figure it out when you come home." So I love that though, because it's like I did figure it out, and technology changed a lot, but I keep learning every day. So what's the goals now? The goals. Hey, I want to get back and own 5 or 10,000 units again. I want investor partners, limited partners to be invested in those deals with us, that there are seeing great results, great returns, profitability. I think that we're on the tail end of a bull market, going into the in a couple of years from now, we'll be running the front end of a bull market again. And I think that there's really never been a better time in history to invest in multifamily real estate. So that's my focus. That's my goal, either to train and teach somebody how to do it so that they can go do it, or to do it with them and create those synergies and partnerships.
That's awesome. I love that so much. And obviously it sounds like people are, willing to partner with you, and has there been any friction because of what happened, or does it seem to be pretty seamless transition, and they just see the you that grew the company and not the you that did the wrong?
Yeah, I've had some, not a lot. What has happened has been minimal, and been able to work through it. Yeah, I had an investor. I was on a meetup one day, and there were 150 people on this meetup. And after the meetup, an old investor of mine who was involved in my old company went to the host of the meetup and said, "Oh, I can't believe you had him on. He scammed me. I lost all my retirement income." And so I wind up talking to this investor, and she didn't even know I went to prison. She goes, "Where have you been for the last 8 years? What are you and your partner doing about this?" I said, "Hey, hang on." I said, "I just came home, and I'd probably been home a year." She goes, "Oh, don't lie to me." I said, "Really?" I said, you're gonna go there, right?" And, it came to a point where she, realized that I had gone to prison. And here's what she said. She said, look, I'm not mad at you. She goes, I had 3 deals at that same time that all crashed because of the market. I know it was all market driven. You guys did everything you could. And so, um, that was the worst of anything that's happened, and listen, I believe this. I believe if God wants me to pay, to make amends and pay restitution and take care of everything, he's going to bless me beyond belief, and we're going to have a great ride. So
Awesome. I love that. And so what of yours, obviously you have a very broad range of skills. What of that skill set have you identified now moving forward that you're going to really apply for the next deals and moving forward?
yeah, so I love building relationships. Listen, this is the first time you and I have really met, right? And we kind of connected out of the gate. And so uh, that's because of relationship skills, and you do it too. So you've got that same skill, right? But raising capital, and finding deals and being the guy that is able to get a deal takes a skill set of building relationships. And that's who I am at the core. I want to build, lasting relationships with people that we're going to do business, and we're all going to have a great run as a result of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's 100% my unique ability as well. As my girlfriend teases all the time. She's like, one of my favorite things is to watch how quickly you can just get someone to openly admit what they love and what they would rather be doing, and helping them, gas them up to go, do it and be passionate about it. And I'm just like, to me, it's just how I'm just having a conversation. Right. And so, but you realize from the outside that, that is actually, a superpower more or less. Right. And I love that you haven't gotten away from that, because you could go and just be like, oh yeah, I just underwrite now, and
Yeah.
I don't want to be the face anymore. But instead you lean right into it and you're just like, yep, and I'm back to what I do best.
Yeah. And like I said, when we got started, I said, ask me anything, right? Just because it's all okay. And underwriting is my second love and second skill.
Same.
Yeah, because I want to be intimately involved. And I think raising capital, you have to be intimately involved, right?
Absolutely.
You better know those numbers inside and out, and be able to talk to them with anybody. So.
For sure, because you never know when you're going to have an investor, a sophisticated investor. I know sophisticated, technically not accredited, but I just mean sophisticated as in an intelligent, accredited investor who may look at the underwriting and have an in-depth question. And if you don't know the ins and outs and you can't answer that question, that's the difference between them investing in a deal and not.
Right. Exactly.
So what markets are you guys focusing on?
Yeah, we like the southeast of the US, so if you looked on a map from Dallas to Charlotte, that southeast smile, right? And then like Phoenix. And so that's kind of where we're looking, red states.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't blame you. Phoenix is, and all of those are pretty insulated too from any sort of economic shift that we're seeing.
Yeah.
Obviously 08's not going to happen. It just can't. I feel like I know predictions is, all of us just have a fuzzy ball. Nobody can really predict, but with your experience, you've been in this 30 plus years. What do you anticipate happening?
Slow down. I think we're in it, and here's what's amazing, right? Is the rules of the game state that if the GDP has lost two subsequent quarters in a row, you're in a recession. That's the terminology. It's been that for years. Well, all of a sudden, nobody's calling it. We've lost, the GDP's been negative the last 2 quarters. and nobody's calling it. They're changing the rules, right?
It's
Well, they've been
ridiculous.
changing the rules for the last number of months, and I think that's why we're in the situation that we're in. You called it. We're not going to hit, this isn't going to be 2008, but we are going to see a slowdown. I think we're going to see a shift in pricing. I think we're going to see more product on the market. Sellers that wanted to sell at a higher price, I think, missed the mark. You can already see some of that pricing changing. You see some of those rules changing. Earnest money's not going hard right away, and things like that. So I think we're going to ride this for the next 30 months. The other side of the election come 2025, the beginning of 2025, we'll cycle out. And that's where I said earlier that we'll be on the front side of a bull market at that time. So make sure you've got your relationships in order. Make sure you've got, have bought some deals between now and then. I tell people, don't quit, keep going, just keep underwriting. It took me 80 deals. I underwrote 80 deals to write 7 LOIs to be the bridesmaid 6 times to get to the altar once. That was, probably going to need to do that a couple more times right now to find deals that make sense. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the norm right now, in all asset classes too. It's not just multifamily, it's everything. I was really looking hard at self-storage, still am, same thing. I think personally I've, underwritten 2025. I've got a partner who's done even more, and we still haven't identified one, so it's across all asset classes. And, so as things are slowing down, you're obviously very close with investors. So at the investor level, what's that conversation like to keep, investor sentiment is shifting, but doesn't need to. I really feel that there's an opportunity here. So what's that conversation like on your end?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Well, I don't know that I should do anything right now. Maybe we should wait this out and just sit on our cash because there'll be, why would you want to wait 2 years with debt equity? Where's that gonna take you? I always say that if you're not growing forward, you're going backwards, right? So if you got capital in the bank today and it's getting 0.5% or 0.75% interest, you're going backwards. You're not going forward because it's not growing for you, especially at the rate of inflation. Because if inflation's at 9 or 12%, whatever they're calling it right now, and you're getting 1% in the bank, you're at a negative number anyhow, because you're not keeping up with it. So you have to be in an asset with your principal that will offset inflation, right? So real estate is an asset that even if you're only getting a 6% cash on cash return and seeing a 13% IRR, you're still ahead of inflation.
Yep.
Okay. So you still got forward momentum, right? Which I believe that you get in a deal today at a lower, rate, lower return profile. By the time we hit that mark after the election, you're going to see that open up, and your cash on cash you'll turn around. So if you're in a deal with a waterfall, it's going to be helpful. So, I think it's a big conversation, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's tough, because obviously, you don't want to ever try to sell it, right? You just want to educate, but certainly there's a piece where, helping them understand, and a lot do, right? I mean, a lot think like us, right? This is an opportunity time. A lot of investors are licking their chops right now, because there's just going to be more and more opportunity, I think, as some of this bridge debt, some of these adjustable rates, get, because if 2 years ago, you got a 3-year bridge loan 2 years ago and you got 3.25%, and then, you underwrote up to a 6%, and then all of a sudden it comes time and it's interest rates are at 8%, no matter how conservative your underwriting was, you could be underwater there. So it could present some opportunities.
Yeah. So just be cautious, walk forward and be cautious. That's all.
I love it. Well, this has been incredible. Really, really appreciate you coming on, sharing your story. We'll wind down here into the final five. First question, best advice you've gotten from a mentor?
I think that the best advice I ever got was from a client, and it wasn't really advice. It came sideways. I was probably in the real estate business 3 years and walked in a client's house, and he goes, "Man, Morawski, you are so tenacious." And I didn't know what it meant, but I graciously said, "Thank you," hoping it was good. Went home, looked it up in the dictionary, and I said, "Man, that's me, tenacious. I don't quit. I keep going. I keep moving forward." And the best advice that I think I've ever gotten was, don't quit. Just keep going, keep going. Don't give up. We only lose if we quit.
Gosh, it's so true. Yeah, there's no such thing as, failure unless you quit, right? To me, it's just you learned how not to do something.
Yeah. Boy, did I.
Yes, you did. Yep, you did. But you know what? You paid your price. You did what you had to do, right? And you see what happens when you go through that and you do it correctly and you're humble about it and you accept it. And, so, and were you with other white collar, like it's probably a different section, right? With other white collar.
Yeah. A lot of doctors, lawyers, and real estate people, and a lot of street corner pharmacists.
Yeah.
Some of whom are my best friends today. I came out of the grocery store yesterday. This is just a funny story, and I'm walking across the parking lot, and this car pulls over like this in front of me. Guy jumps out, and I go, "Oh my God, I can't believe it." It was a guy I was locked up with for a number of years, right? And I hadn't seen him in years, and it was just funny. So
that's cool, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got a bond that not everybody will ever have. So,
and yeah, that's for sure.
Awesome. What is it about your career that makes you feel like you're fulfilling your why?
My message.
Yeah.
Message.
Love that. Favorite non-real estate or investment related book?
You know what? I'm reading a book right now. I have to say probably, and I've read 1,500 books over the years. And this is probably the best book I've ever read. It's called Winning. It's by Tim Grover. Tim Grover was the personal coach for Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, some other pretty big name basketball stars. And I love basketball, and I love the analogies around basketball. And this book is it's phenomenal. So
awesome. Definitely adding that to my list. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
To do more in the allotted time throughout the day.
Yeah, I think we would all love to have that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Last one. What's the best way for people to get a hold of you and learn more?
Thanks. First of all, wherever you hang out on social media, I'm there. So whether you get your fix on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook, Twitter, look me up, either Mike Morawski or My Core Intentions. I have a ton of content out there. Go to YouTube and subscribe to my channel. Putting stuff out every day. And if you want to direct connect with me, you can email me. I love to network with people and talk to people. So it's mike@mycoreintentions.com. And if you want a copy of Exit Plan, just do /free and you can download an ebook.
Awesome. We'll link down the show notes, make it super easy. I know we didn't get to the book. That is one thing that is huge, is your exit strategy. So those of you, go check it out. Again, thank you so much for your time. This has been incredible. I'm extremely grateful.
Thanks, Johnny. I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching today's episode. I hope you really enjoyed it. Listen, I know it's cliche and you hear it all the time, but please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you know when the next video is coming out. Even though this is technically a daily podcast, you know it's coming out the next day. We have a ton of content coming your way. So please like and subscribe. It helps a ton. Leave comments. Would love to know what you guys think. And we will see you on the next one. Thanks so much.